Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Game in 90. My name is Vic Maso, reporting from very sunny Nairobi, and I'm joined by my co host, Stevo. How are you, Stevo? How has your week been?
Week is great. No FPL, no stress. But all in all, we have some international fixtures. And yeah, let's dive into it. Let's see what's in store.
Okay. It has been quite an eventful week, especially for international football, specifically for the AFCON qualifiers. And where do we start? Let's start in our motherland, Kenya. Kenya disappoints again. We drew 1-1 with Zimbabwe, a very disappointing game. It was held in South Africa, a 1-1 draw, and that means you are out of contention for the AFCON in Morocco. So if we beat or we draw or we lose to Namibia, we are still out. What do you think of that game, Steve?
Um, I think we were so hopeful. Before even we began the qualifiers, everyone, and I mean everyone, thought that Kenya had a chance. We were not in a group of the heavyweights. We had some really winnable fixtures. But at the end of the day, you know the results. You are not able to get a win. We have not been able to qualify for the AFCON 2025. And yeah, it's the same script, man. We are poor, and this has culminated from a lot of issues. So I don't know where you should start from.
Man, even for me, I'm honestly disappointed, but at the same time, I'm not surprised also. Because looking at this group on paper, this group looks very easy. If you look at our opponents, you look at Namibia, they are ranked 113th in the world. If you look at Zimbabwe, 117th in the world. That's why I say this was a very winnable group. Because, of course, Cameroon, they are above us, they are 49th in the world. I felt that at the least we should have finished second in this group. Looking at these, even the countries in it, the likes of Namibia, the likes of Zimbabwe, looking at the FIFA rankings, we are so much better than them. So I expected us to qualify from from this group. What do you think Hamper does the most? Why didn't we qualify?
We are poor in different aspects of the game. I don't know if we should start with management or we should start with governance, but Kenya is a poor side. We don't really have the talent in our first 25 man. And we also have to put some blame on the manager, Firat. There was no goal threat, there was no pattern, there was no aggression, and no tactics at the end of the day. Because I've realized that we got him from a side, from a country that basically is 60th below us. So I don't know what the ambition or the decision behind that was. And we've scored one goal. Or how many goals were they?
I think we have only scored 4 goals in the whole competition.
Five fixtures, 4 goals, meaning we are averaging at least a goal in every match.
In
And I
every
don't
match.
think that's not enough to either secure 3 points for any team in the world. But I don't know if the future is looking bright for Kenya, but we need to start sorting out our issues. I think this guy needs to leave. Um, he's not providing any intellect or any ambition to the Kenyan team. I know we might be having challenges in terms of infrastructure and all that, but we need to see what you can do with the existing resources. And with such a performance, especially at a crucial point in terms of our football development, I don't think it's sustainable. I think if we are to qualify for the next AFCON, the right time to prepare is now. and that has to begin with the management. And the other thing that really surprises me is the fact that we still have 20-year-olds footballers who can really perform at their best. So if they are not called upon to participate, it means there's also some blaming to put on the manager. So if he needs to put his team in order, I understand he's also been choosing players in the wrong positions. He's been trying to force some players to play in their and rightful positions, and that for a manager, you have to carry the weight, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for selecting the first team that appears for the fixture. So I think Kenya, there's a long way, but let's see what happens in the near future.
For me, let me chip in with my thoughts. First of all, I think corruption is a very major issue in Kenya. And you can see the corruption has also spilled into the sports sector. The fact that we didn't play in a match at home in Nairobi, we played all our home games in Uganda. Even FIFA can't approve our stadiums. That speaks a lot about where we are as a country. Imagine we are training in Uganda, we are playing all our home fixtures in Uganda. And I feel that if we could have played our home games in Kenya, in Nairobi, with the support of our fans, I think we could have gained maybe 3 points. The game that we lost against Cameroon in Uganda 1-0, if we could have played in Nairobi, it could have been a 0-0, a draw. The game that we played with Zimbabwe in Uganda, we drew 0-0. We could have easily won that game if we played in Nairobi. So that means we could have gained 3 extra points. I felt that was a very major issue, and it's all about corruption in Kenya. It's a very, very big issue. I'm talking about our head coach, Engin Firat. Should he be sacked? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, he can't pick the right
Why?
squad. He can't use whatever is there. No, I mean,
Why?
a precedence has been set. For instance, all top managers, also in Europe, have been plugged into the academy progress. You are able to monitor how youths are developing. You are also given a 25-man list, or you are allowed to choose a 25-man list to participate under your management as a team. And if you fail to get the right people, I don't think we should expect so much from you. So I don't think Kenya as a nation we lack in terms of talent or personnel. But if the manager is not able to scout or recruit the right people, he has to be put on the stand. He needs to answer those questions. So I think a huge chunk of the blame needs to go to the head coach.
And you know, he has just only won 3 matches, 3 competitive matches in 3 years. And if you look at some of the losses and some of the draws, we have lost to the likes of South Sudan. With all due respect to South Sudan, they are a great country, but they are ranked 172th in the world. We should not lose to these sides, with all due respect to South Sudan.
And
But
and
for
and
me,
coming to think of it, we used to play even better in the past than we are playing right now. We had the same situation. We had the likes of Kinawere. We had the likes of Kina. Who was this guy? He retired. Mariga, Oliech. We used to have these guys, and looking at how we performed, I know we didn't qualify for major tournaments, but we were able to compete. If a match was really put and it was all stakes, Kenya used to show up. We used to string passes. We used to have chances. But I've not seen us creating chances, especially in these AFCON qualifiers. And that says a lot about how we are trying to play. So I think there's a poor downwards trajectory, which we need to start evaluating and see if this really guy is the right man to take us to where we want to head to.
But my main issue is, yes, let's say we sack Firat, we sack him as the head coach, but the existing problems still persist. The likes of, we don't have a good football structure, we don't have good facilities. Then we have upcoming FKF elections in December. We elect the same people who have been pulling Kenyan football backwards. I'll not name names, but they know themselves.
Nick
We elect,
Mwendwa.
Nick Mwendo. We elect the same old faces. Nothing much will change, bro. That's the thing. Nothing much will change. As much as the football structure in Kenya remains the same, we don't work on the facilities. Even if we are the best, even if we are Guardiola or Zinedine Zidane, nothing much will change. I can assure you that. What do you think?
So, first of all, what is this guy's style of play? Before even you get to the personnel or the recruitment, what is this guy's track record? How does his CV look like? What is his biggest achievement for us to say this is the right guy at a time like now when the ship is sinking that is going to get out of this mess?
But even before I go to his track record, the good thing about Virat, the good thing about I like about him, he acknowledges our problems. He knows, yes, really, there's some problems which exist in Kenyan football, and he is willing to stick around. So I feel for the fact that he is willing to stick around with the Kenyan team, he is looking at the long term thing. Yes, he doesn't have a very good track record actually. I don't think he has managed any major national team to a major competition. But I think for the fact that he's willing to stick with Kenya through the hard times, we should give him some time.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You mentioned the issue on corruption. Let me tell you, these guys are all in the same syndicate. Don't you think if he's willing to stick around and there's nothing that he's showing off for it? And mind you, the corrupt FKF is the same people who put him in charge. So there are a lot of details about his recruitment or his hiring that we don't know about. And I think the fact that he's on a heavy salary also means that I think he's comfortable. At the end of the day, he knows not all blame will be put on him because he knows if we evaluate it, we'll know our team is poor, our governance is also poor. But at the end of the day, him as head coach, he has nothing to lose. So he'll just do all that he can and go home with his hefty salary.
But he has also been complaining a lot about the delay of salaries. He's been really complaining about that. And this is a systemic issue because even if you look at the previous coaches, they were still not paid their salary on time. So this is a systemic issue that needs to be solved at the soonest time. That is the biggest issue with Kenya. And if you don't solve these problems, come the 2027 AFCON, we'll be humiliated. Remember, we are hosting that AFCON. If we don't solve our issues on time, I think we'll be very humiliated, bro. I can tell you that.
You know, looking at our squad, most of these players play in European leagues. They're in international clubs. Doesn't mean that they don't play soccer. You know, it's not their first time seeing a ball on the pitch. But when it comes to Kenya, there's no cohesion. These guys can't string passes, you know. And if the manager can't come out guns blazing and call out all these shenanigans, it means that he's part of the syndicate. And that's why I think for the mentality of the players to improve, this guy needs to go. He might be vocal on the press, try to save his ass, but no. He's not performing. He doesn't have the numbers. I'm actually looking on paper. I can't say we have the best squad, but we have 11 players that all together can achieve something. And by something, I mean at least win a match. You know, show us one match that you can perform convincingly, and at least we can build some hope on that. You know, but it's nothing, bro. Nothing.
And you also need to talk about our team captain, Engineer Michael Ogada Olunga. Just one goal in the qualifier. That's a very poor display from him. And even Firat highlighted one of our main causes of being eliminated early is the lack of goal scoring opportunities. Do you think we can put fault on Engineer Michael Olunga?
To some extent, yes, and to some extent, no. No,
Why
there's
no?
no he's not receiving any chances from his other players, you know. And at the end of the day, we might expect him to captain or provide leadership. But if we don't have a strong midfield that is able to provide those crucial passes or even make assists, I think it's going to be a hard time for him up there. I'm sure he rarely touches the ball in matches,
It's true.
you know.
It's true.
So if only we can get creative playmakers in the midfield, then we should put the blame on Olunga if he fails to score those chances.
Do you think it's time we integrate the youth team, the likes of the under 20 or the under 17 into our national team?
Absolutely, bro. Talent knows no age limits. We have the likes of Yamal already playing in Spain national first team. Already he has won his first international trophy. What's our excuse? If we have great talent, 17, 18 to 20, I think they should feature in these matches. If not in the first team, at least they should be on the bench. Let them provide some creative playmaking from the bench. But if we keep playing the same crooks, we have that 6-year-old goalkeeper. Come on, it's just poor.
Let's see. I hope before the next AFCON, because the 2027 AFCON, we will qualify automatically because, of course, we are the hosts. I hope we'll be ready for that, man. I don't want us to
All I,
come at home, then we get humiliated at home. It will be very bad for us.
all I want to see is a manager who is going to do a complete overhaul of the first team. We need to see new names, you know? You know, that will inspire us that something is changing. But you just can't come inherit a squad that has been previously used and underachieved and expect to get something different from what has been there before. So if we start seeing new names on the list, at least I am guaranteed that we are heading somewhere. Let's give these other guys a chance and see what they can do.
Yeah, I also need to see the likes of Kibet, the under 17 team or the under 20 team. I need to see them on the bench. Even if they just play 2 or 3 minutes, at least they'll gain some experience. Come the 2027 AFCON, they'll be in their prime. That's why you should integrate them as soon as possible. We should not wait much longer than this. I don't see a reason why we should wait much longer.
But I think that's what they are looking at. I think they can see the potential in the young ones, and they are placing their bet on the fact that come AFCON 27, we'll have some good talent in our first team. We won't be embarrassed considering that we'll be hosting the competition.
And I hope, man, come the 2024 elections in December, the FKF elections, we should remove all these crooks, man. They should go home, they should pack their bags, and we should elect a new FKF delegation, because this one it's failing us, honestly. There's no way you can repeat the same thing and expect different results. That's the thing. So I hope these FKF elections, they will solve all these issues.
But all in all, we remain patriotic to our national team.
Yeah.
Whether we win or we lose, man, all we want to do is just make sure we can improve and realize our potential in this area of football as a country. We've achieved that in athletics, we've also done that in rugby. So I think it's high time we put some little more focus on football.
Fair enough. Now let's look at the teams that have already qualified for the competition. Who surprises you the most in these qualified teams? I can see the likes of the Senegal, the likes of Morocco, the likes of Egypt. The heavyweights have already qualified. Who has surprised you the most in this list? The ones that have already qualified for these tournaments.
Now, I don't know if I should first of all divide them into regions because I can see quite a number from West Africa, can see quite a number from North Africa. I can see a few from South, but when it comes to Eastern, we only have one, right?
Man, that's a very
And that
big
is,
issue.
yeah. And personally, I think Comoros, if Comoros
Mhm.
have been able to qualify, we should
Why
not
not
have
us?
any. Hey, I don't think we have any reason why not to qualify. If Comoros have gotten onto this list at this point, before even all teams have been have qualified, it means that if you get your basics right, you end up being on this list. So I think
And
Comoros have. If Comoros have qualified, it means that they are doing something in terms of their football culture and their investment. So I won't be surprised come the next few years that they have an international player playing in any of the top 5 leagues in the world.
the thing is, Comoros, Zimbabwe, Sudan, and Botswana, they are all below us in the FIFA rankings. That's one thing. And you know, these teams, once they go into the AFCON and they play with the heavyweights, the likes of Egypt, the likes of Morocco, the likes of Tunisia, the likes of Nigeria, they'll get much more better than us. I can assure you that. The more they play these big teams, the more they get more competitive. And I think it's also an issue for the East African region. The fact that only one team has qualified for this AFCON, it speaks volumes about where we are as a region. Is it a matter of corruption, maybe financing? What do you think is the issue ailing the East African region in terms of football?
Now, I think yes, corruption takes a huge chunk of the reasons why we don't really take so much consideration in sports altogether. But at the end of the day, if we have a national team, it means that with or without investment, we need to get the right people. I don't think there's so much revenue that goes into scouting, but as a head coach or as a manager, you should be able to make the right recruitment. And with the way we are doing it right now, it tells me that corruption is not really about the money, but it's really about also the individuals that make to the first team. So if you are able to first of all eliminate the corruption within, then governance will take charge. Because at the end of the day, they also realize that in within us we are not able to organize ourselves. So they have no reason enough to come in or invest in a downward trajectory in football. So I think we just first of all need to start organizing ourselves from where we are right now so that we can look lucrative to the governance side, so that at least they can see here there's a huge potential and we should do something about it.
Because even if you look at the rest of the East African countries, in the standings, the likes of Burundi, the likes of Rwanda, the likes of Somalia, the likes of Ethiopia, the likes of Djibouti, all these are in the Eastern African region. They are performing very, very poorly in these qualifiers. And it's not a problem that has started today. It has been all over the years since the inception of the AFCON. We have been performing very, very poorly. And the fact that we are hosting this competition in 2027, we need to pull up our socks. We need to strengthen our federation, that is SECAFA, our football structure, our stadiums. There's a lot of work to be done before the next AFCON competition.
All I can say is, now that as East Africa will be hosting the AFCON, Kenya will stand out in terms of hospitality, but the likes of the experienced Uganda and TZ will take control of the football. We won't appear anywhere on the charts, but in terms of hospitality, we'll be there.
Actually, Tanzania have a very good chance of qualifying. They beat Ethiopia yesterday 2-0. And if they win their last game against Guinea, where they are at home, they will qualify even before Kenya will qualify for this AFCON competition. That's a very big shame for Kenya. It's sad to say, but it's a very, very big shame for our counterparts to participate in the AFCON, but you don't participate in the AFCON. So yeah. And now looking at these teams here, who are your favorites to win this? I know it's very early because the
Uh,
competition will be in December 2025. I know it's very, very early to start predicting, but who do you think are the favorites to win this one for you?
I'll go with the extremely talented Super Eagles, Nigeria.
Super Eagle, Nigeria.
The
Why? Why
super
Nigeria?
man. I mean, when I look at Nigeria, I look at a situation which England are in right now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of super talented players, and I mean a 25-man squad that is super talented, very experienced, but they lack the management aspect of it. Actually, some of the issues that have been coming up is the lack of harmony within the coaching fraternity in Nigeria, because on one side you need to balance on your squad in terms of defensive, midfield, and attacking. And on the other side, you also need to play your best players. Now, you realize with Nigeria, they are not really strong defensive wise, but attacking wise, they are super, super powerful. And I think if they can be able to eliminate all those issues within the team changing room, I think it will reflect also on their performance on the pitch. Now, noting their performance hasn't been that poor, they have secured the top spot in the qualifiers, Group D, with 10 points. And they have conceded one goal in the last 5 games in the qualifiers. So I think that's a good indication of some stability that has started to creep in. And not forgetting our talisman 2023 African Player of the Year in Victor Osimhen. I think he's going to be our, what do we call it? Man at the front. Is going to bring in the goals, and I hope that he's able to be in his right form. And the likes of the new entries that have been brought into the team, I've seen that Tosin Adrabayo from Chelsea is considering joining the Super Eagles. And if they are able to secure him from the England camp, I think that will be a huge win in terms of their defensive formations. And honestly, if Nigeria can find their form, They are capable of scoring goals in bunches. And I'm looking forward to see what this season of the AFCON they are going to do. And personally, I think they will reach deep into the AFCON. I don't think they'll fail to qualify in the group stages. I think if they're going to get eliminated, it's somewhere along the lines of the knockout stages. Yeah. So personally, I'll go with Nigeria. I'm rooting for Nigeria, the Super Eagles, and let's see if they can find their form.
Speaking of Nigeria. When I think of Nigeria, I think of the likes of England. Nigeria has a lot of similarities with England. Why do I say they have similarities with England? These guys are so hyped a lot. Coming to the competition, the media, if you go to Twitter, these guys are very, very hyped. They have a very good team on paper, by the way. The likes of Osimhen, as you have said, the likes of Iwobi, they are very, very good players.
Lookman,
But when it comes
Champions League
eh,
finalist.
who?
Ademola Lookman.
Hey, look, man, they are very, very good players actually. But when it comes to the big tournaments, with Ivory Coast, they were the favorites actually in this competition. They were the huge favorites to lift this trophy. But what happened? They were 1-0 in the first half. Then in the second half, I don't know what happened. Ivory Coast came back and won that fixture 2-1. So I don't think Nigeria will win this because of that singular thing. They are very good players on paper, but on the ground they can't seem to translate their good players to good results. So for that, I think my favorite is Morocco, and there's a reason why I say Morocco is my favorite. One, remember these guys are the hosts of this tournament. They lost this tournament. Then they have very good players, the likes of ZH, the likes of Mazraoui, the likes of Amrabat, Captain Fantastic, Ashraf Hakimi. And yes, I know the last time they won the AFCON was in 1976. But I think they have the perfect opportunity to win this competition after 50 years. I think it will be 50 years since they last won their last AFCON. And for that, I think Morocco will be the huge favor. These players, they have European pedigree. If you look the likes of Ziyech, the likes of Hakimi, the likes of Diaz, these are players with huge pedigree in the European competitions. What do you think?
Yeah, sure thing. Most of their squad players have developed in Europe, so I think that's a great contributing factor in the way they play, in the way they are harmonized and cohesive as a team. Um, I think they are representation of football heritage, and all other African countries should try and emulate the kind of investment that they have put into developing their football culture. And their squad looks good on paper also. And the good thing about it is they are able to replicate that on the pitch. And with the way they have been thrashing and scoring goals, I think they are huge contenders for winning the AFCON. And personally, I'm ready for the competition. I want to see if they are able to break those low, what do we call them?
Low
Low
blocks.
defensive, yeah, low blocks teams in the AFCON, because the likes of Cameroon, I'm sure Comoros will try to remain as solid as possible, considering that they are the new entries. So I think there's so much to be won, and at the same time, there's so much to lose. So Yeah, we will be looking at the hosts, but we also know what happens to the hosts. Chances are you might host it, but you might not go all the way. But let's see if Morocco are able to pull this one off.
Yeah, and actually in the last AFCON, I had them as my favorites in the 2023 AFCON, and they were sadly eliminated by South Africa in the round of 16. Another thing is that this Morocco, they have won all their five fixtures. They have 15 points from all their five fixtures, and that tells you that they are way above these other teams. I think that the North African continent is performing much better than the rest of the continent, and that is something that we'll monitor throughout these qualifiers, because some parts of
Looking
the Africa seem much better than other parts.
looking at the odds for winning, the Super Eagles come sixth. That's a huge shocker, considering that in the last few years they've been the elites, they've been the top three, possibly in football Africa. But
Which one?
the likes of Senegal are above them. The likes of Egypt, but I don't think they have the oomph to go all the way. Because at the end of the day, what is really crucial is how you're able to perform as a team and not as an individual, and that is quite it's reflected highly from the Morocco side. But we are going to put up a fight. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for Morocco. And watch out, the Super Eagles. You know our combat jersey. We are ready. Stealth mode.
You guys are all just vibes and inshallah. Just good vibes, but on the ground things change.
But it's impressive, bro, how they've invested over time in their football. We've seen so many Nigerian players come to play in top European clubs. And that's what I was saying. If they can only find their form, I think it will be a huge statement if they are able to win after their last win in 2013.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, guys, let's see who wins that competition in 2025. The
Yeah, sure.
qualifiers,
Now, how do they decide? How do they decide the group stages?
to all that. And yeah, all the best to the remaining sides. There are five slots to be won. And all the best to our neighbors, Tanzania. I hope they beat Guinea on Tuesday. For us, Kenya versus Namibia, that will be a dead rubber game. If we lose, we draw, we win, nothing much will change. But it is a huge lesson for us. And we'll see how that goes, man. We'll see how that goes. Any parting
Now,
shots, Stevo?
I
Okay.
wanted to ask how do they decide on the group stages? Is it the pot system
Yeah,
or
the pot.
what
Yeah,
happens?
they have a pot system. Same case as the Euros, as the World Cup. Of course, there are coefficients. The likes of Morocco, they have a bigger coefficient. Maybe they are ranked number 2 or number 3. That means they can't face a number 1 team in the group stages. They'll maybe face the number 25 or number 26 in the group stage. So they have a coefficient ranking, and that's our group stage. So they have pot A, pot B, pot C, and pot D. Yeah,
But
that's how the group stage.
considering the level of corruption that we've seen using this sport system from the very famous Champions League, what are the odds that the corruption won't happen in the AFCON decider for the group stages?
It can, bro. This is Africa. Remember, we are not in
Exactly.
Europe. This is not UEFA administering this competition. This is CAF, and with CAF, you don't know what happens. Money may change hands.
The
Very,
most corrupt
very.
organization in Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we can stop thinking with our stomachs and use our heads, I think, like every other Pan-African has said, there's a huge potential in Africa, not only in sports but in all other facets. So I think it's the high time we start to set precedents in terms of sports, and I'm sure even other sectors will try and follow suit. So let's see if Raila Odinga is able to spearhead the conversation of sports in Africa if, and I say if, he manages to
If
clinch that. Yes, if he manages
all
to
the
clinch that African AU position chairmanship.
all the best to him, man. all the very best to him.
But anyway, AFCON is a great competition for those that are outside Africa. I think it's our heritage, and we are going to turn out in huge droves. I'm sure the stadiums will be filled. We are all there for the action, for the entertainment, to also see our best players from Africa at this great stage. And yeah, I'm sure that it's going to be a full packed event. And yeah, let's see how African teams have developed over time in terms of their footballing ability.
Okay. Yeah, let's see how that goes. And I'll be rooting for Uganda and Tanzania. Of course, they are our East African counterparts. And I wish them all the best in this competition. Yes, we'll cover this AFCON. We'll cover it extensively in the build up to that competition. So expect more from us. Stevo, any last words?
Man, game in 90s is all about football. Anywhere you see a soccer ball, I'm sure game in 90 will be covering all that. And from me, I think go ahead. Give your comments on what you think about the AFCON. Who are your favorites down in the comment section. Continue to follow Game in 90 on all our social media platforms. And yeah, look out for more content. I know it's the international break, but there's still a lot of footballing news to talk about. So continue to follow us on Game in 90, the podcast.
Oh, yeah, guys, that has been a very good episode for today. And we'll see you next time. I know it's the international break. There's not been very many games. But the Premier League is coming back soon. Next week we'll be previewing the game week ahead. And for me, Vic Maso, I'll just say adios to you guys. See you next time. Peace.
Msee, kuna time hii nilikuwa ina